Romance is still a mystery to me, even at my rapidly advancing age. As a society, it seems as if we're rewriting the rules as we go. I remember when my friend Nick met his future wife, Claire. Nick had a strong passion for Claire. He quickly fell in love, and Claire seemed to enjoy Nick's company. They dated, and Nick became determined to pop the question to Claire. One beautiful day, Nick mustered up his courage. He said, "Claire." "Yes, Nick?" "I've really enjoyed being single and dating you and everything, but there comes a time in every man's life when he needs someone who views him as a hero, someone who loves him unconditionally, someone who's devoted to him, someone he can claim and care for as his own." Claire nodded in agreement. She said, "I understand, Nick, and I agree with you. Let's go to the pet store and get you a puppy." I want to talk to you about some of the history and origins of romance in Western culture, because tomorrow's Valentine's Day, and today my love is joining me here in Monterey. And when we look back in history, the word romance came into existence in the High Middle Ages, way back in the 12th century. And it was used by troubadours of that day in poetry and song and prose, much in the same way that we use it today. And that's the first place in history that we see this concept of romantic love in the record. For men, the ideal of romantic love was embodied in the notion of the knight. And the word chivalry came into existence shortly after the word romance in the early 14th century. And the concept of chivalry was all about the virtues of the knight, the noble man, and the expectations for him to be courteous and have valor and to be proficient in arms, and especially to be courtly in the way that he approached women. And chivalry had a nice little run for just over 3 centuries, and it actually fell out of both Middle English, or out of English and French, in the 17th century. But in English it was revived in the 18th century by romance writers who had a fondness for setting their stories in the medieval age. And so they revived the court and chivalry and these knightly concepts. And later, in the 1900s, in the Victorian age, the idea of love became even more primary in romance. The point is, back in the Middle Ages, when the concept of romance and love was introduced, it became a potential ingredient for a matrimonial relationship. But arranged marriages were really the norm. As we look later in history, we look at stories like that of Romeo and Juliet, where love vies with the politics and economics of arranged marriage, and love is primary over that for that doomed couple. By the Victorian age, in the 1900s, love became the primary reason for marriage and relationships. And courting became a very formal sort of ritual, to the extent that many marriage proposals were actually written. This would have benefited Nick greatly in his attempts to propose to Claire. And it brings me back to my own situation. My love, Marcia, arrives today. We met last year. We began to date. I courted her as best I knew how, given that the rules aren't well defined these days. And we eventually decided that we would elevate our relationship. Last fall, I invited friends and family to various gatherings, and I would introduce her to them as my girlfriend, Marcia. I expected this to delight her. It didn't. I could not quite read the look on her face. So eventually I decided I had to bring this issue up. We engaged in a series of conversation that enlightened neither one of us. I assumed there must be a language barrier, so I went to her adult daughter. And I said, Paolo, when I introduce your mother as my girlfriend, she's not happy. What's wrong? Paolo laughed. She said, when you introduce her like that, it's as if she is, well, someone from Brazil would think that she's what? She's your mistress. Someone's got to write down these rules for me. Thank you.